Hey everybody, I thought for today I would share with you some of my favorite perennials that I have planted in our ornamental gardens. These are things that they may attract pollinators, they may have other uses for them, or maybe they just look great and I just really enjoy growing them. So I wanted to share that with you, and you can come take a look and see what I've got planted here right now. I love doing the vegetable garden, but I like seeing pretty stuff around the house as well. So let's go take a look. Now, black-eyed Susans are one really great plant to have around in your garden. They're extremely low care, low maintenance. You hardly have to even bother with them. Once you plant them, they will resow themselves, so they can be a spreader. But they're very good for pollinators. They really like jumping all over them. And look at that, right there is a little bee pollinating right now as we speak. Check him out. But they're really cool plants to have around. If you like yellow in your garden, it's a great one to choose. Mix it together with some purples and different things like that. A homestead purple verbena as a ground cover around something like this looks really fantastic. So Rudbeckia is definitely one I would consider planting in every garden. Just be sure to maintain it as far as not letting it spread out too much, because when it does spread out, it can really go bonkers. But you know what? That's great, because you can actually give it away to friends and family, and it can just be a real cool plant to have. Rudbeckia is best planted in a full sun location, and what's also cool is very drought tolerant, so you don't have to worry about it too much as far as water and moisture goes. In the fall, it will produce seed, so I definitely would recommend collecting some seed and planting it out when you want to expand your garden. Now, I am a huge fan of hostas. I've got a whole side garden bed that's pretty much dedicated to hostas. We've got some hellebores in it, and you can see over here also some hydrangea. That's a hydrangea arborescens, which is just a beautiful hydrangea to have in your garden. Now, one big issue I do have with hostas is deer, and I noticed this the other day where this beautiful hosta just got nibbled on. Thankfully, they haven't messed with too many things in this garden bed yet, but I know we've got 3 deer that like to roam around the backyard. And so far we've been lucky, but they definitely will come and take of the hosta a little bit. The other issue that we will have, and you'll notice damage like this from time to time, are slugs. Slugs are one of those things that like the shade that the hostas provide. They like being underneath them, and they hide and then they nibble on those leaves. So you do have to watch out for them. You can use like beer in a saucer dish to help bait them and bring them over, and there's different products that you can use for slugs too. So it's definitely not the end of the world, and you know what, I really don't care if there's a bite or two out of them. It's not the end of the world. It's the mass look that I really like to see. So check that out right there. And yeah, I've got some weeds in here I need to do. There's an oak leaf hydrangea. And we actually used hemlock over here. That's the evergreen right there. And crepe myrtles to actually create the big shade canopy that these are in. So the hostas were not original here. We had Coreopsis first along the sides when the crepe myrtles were small. And eventually the Coreopsis died out because they needed more sunshine. So we've replaced them with the hostas, and today we have a nice shade garden, completely covered, and the hostas are real happy here. When you're planting hostas, I do recommend you put a little bit of like a wood chip, bark chip mulch in the hole to create some natural drainage for them, and they seem to love that. I learned that from a hosta expert when we toured her garden one time. But hostas can be really cool. They're also an edible plant, if you didn't know that. I've never done it. I've never eaten one, but I'm very curious. In fact, I've considered frying them up like I would a kale chips or something to see how that would go. I don't know. I'll let you know how that goes if I decide to do that. I'm still a little hesitant on it. But hostas are a great one to put in your garden. They're a good perennial. They are not native to the United States. They're native to Asia. But they are a beautiful plant still. Another one of my absolute favorites is Echinacea. Now, Echinacea, also called coneflower, you can see by this shape in the middle of the plant why it might be called a coneflower. And it produces lots of seed in the fall that the finches love, the birds love to eat, and so it's a really great one for wildlife. You've got pollinators who enjoy it in the summertime, and then in the fall the birds enjoy it. So it's just a really good plant all around for nature and wildlife. It is native, so you can plant it away. In fact, we actually here in Tennessee, if you go to the cedar glades, you might be able to find the Tennessee coneflower, which is a kind of a rare species that's native to the cedar glades. So it looks really good pretty much anywhere. I mean, you can put this up with black-eyed Susans and it'll look great. It is a full sun plant, so that's the best spot for it, although sometimes it is a little tolerant of some shade. I've got one in our backyard that is mostly in shade that does pretty well. My biggest issue with coneflower that I've ever had was called aster yellows. And aster yellows is a really nasty disease that they get sometimes, caused by leafhoppers that transmit the disease back and forth between different aster family plants. I'll post a link to that here in the description so you can go and check out my video on aster yellows if you're interested in that. When you do get it, it's something that you pretty much just have to remove the plant. And that's one reason why I've kind of stopped buying the fancy coneflowers. There's all kinds of really nice cultivars of them, but I'm sticking with the seed-grown varieties. The Echinacea purpurea, I've got a white swan, and most of these are just open pollinated seed-grown. And you got to watch out for certain things from them and just kind of keep an eye on them and make sure that you're not seeing any kind of deformities. If you do, you pull them out. But check out that video, see if it's helpful to you, and let me know if you've ever seen that before in your garden. Coreopsis is another of my favorite perennials in the garden. It's very ornamental, but it's also very beneficial to pollinators. They really enjoy these flowers. There's all kinds of different varieties of this that you can get. Some have different leaves on them, more of a thread leaf. Moonbeam is one such like that that's got kind of a thread leaf on it. And this one here, which I don't know the name of, I think it's just a general Coreopsis or Tickseed, but the seeds are real easy to collect and grow, and I'm not sure if there's any seeds actually in here. There's a couple right there, and they're about the size of a tick, hence the name. They kind of look like them too, but they're very easy. They'll self-sow. You can collect the seed and grow them yourself in other areas, use them as a wildflower mix, and they're just a great plant. They kind of grow small, kind of mounding like this one is right here, so they're very drought tolerant also. And here's one more really beautiful perennial you can add to your garden. This is blanket flower, Gaillardia. And this one here is actually from seed from Monticello. My in-laws were out there and they got some seed because they know how much I like gardening. And I planted that this year from seed. So from the beginning of spring till now, I'm already getting flowers. One weird thing though, I really expected them to be a lot shorter than what they are. But these things are growing probably about 3 foot tall right now. It's pretty neat, but I put them kind of in the wrong spot. You can see they're kind of encroaching on this walkway area over here. But they are another favorite of mine. I just love the blossoms. The pollinators love the blossoms too. And they're just very good to have around. They will self-sow. So again, that's another great wildflower that's got a lot of great traits to it. And I have it planted over here next to some salvia, which actually I need to trim back. Right now, it is kind of getting a little bit of dry, dead stuff over here. But you do see some flowers. That's a Caradonna Salvia is what that is. But it's a real good perennial as well. It's been reliable in this location for a long time. To rejuvenate this, all I need to do is cut it back to here, to the mound. You see how it's all regrowing from the base. I'll just clip that all around there and just let it refresh. So it's very easy to take care of, drought tolerant. In fact, most of these plants, except for maybe the hostas, are drought tolerant, but then the hostas have the advantage of the shade area, so they don't dry out as fast. Here's another favorite I have. This is Artemisia, and in particular the variety is Silver Mound. And Silver Mound just has this really nice mound of foliage that can be used as a ground cover or as an accent. You know, if you put it in a pot, you know, the whole thing with the thrillers, spillers, and chillers. Okay, this would be kind of a filler spiller in a way, because it will hang out over top of your pot just a little bit. It's very easy to propagate. All you'd need to do is really remove a branch or two from here and stick it in some soil and you'd be good to go. They are fairly drought tolerant, which is why they also make a good choice for putting into a planter. And They look great with purple plants, yellow flowers, all kinds of stuff. So you've got a lot of options with it. I like this one, and I also like another one called Powys Castle. And both of those are very good artemisias, but there are some artemisias that are very invasive, so you'd like to avoid those. But these two you can plant very safely without feeling like they're going to be too aggressive for you. And I have been a huge fan of catmint for a long time. I've done a video about propagating catmint, but catmint is so easy to grow too. It's very drought tolerant, and it's got these beautiful purple flowers that when they're all coming out at one time, it looks fantastic. You can aggressively cut this plant back and not have to worry about damaging it in any way. You can make more of it through propagation. This does not self-sow for me like, say, a catnip would. The two are a little different, and it also does not attract cats like the way catnip does. It doesn't have the same chemical composition in it like catnip. But it's another really nice one. A lot of butterflies and bees really seem to enjoy this. Hope you enjoyed this video of our favorite perennials in the garden. A lot of them are just so hardy and so reliable that it makes a lot of sense to plant in our Zone 7 garden area. You can use them as kind of a central base for the rest of your garden zones, so that when you're planting around them, they can be the foundation of that garden bed. But they're reliably hardy. They do a great job. They'll be easily grown from seed. And when you grow from seed, you can save a lot of money. I mean, if you think about it, if you're spending $10 to $15 on a perennial plant at a nursery, as opposed to buying a packet of seed for about $2, that's a lot of money savings. Plus, in that packet of seed, you could have 30 to 40 seeds in it easily for something like Echinacea or Coreopsis. Either one of them you can do a lot of good things with in your garden with that seed. So I hope you liked this video. Please, if you did, hit that like button, and please subscribe. I'd love to show you some more garden stuff down the road. And once again, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Thanks for watching.